Don Glut.
That's okay.
Thanks for
All
correcting
right.
me. So go ahead, tell everybody some of the works that you've written.
Well, I've been in the business a long time, and I've done a lot of different things, but I'm basically mostly a writer. I've written everything from novels to comic book stories to television shows, movie scripts, music. I don't write poetry or stage plays, but pretty much everything else. I'm also a film director, a paleontologist, and that's what I do. Anything to avoid getting a job, that's what I do.
Dentist, maybe sometimes, every now and then. So I mean, out of everything that you've written, I mean, I know it's kind of probably hard to pick one favorite, but is there a certain genre or something that you just love writing?
Well, right now, I'm writing a lot of... I started out years ago in comic book business, and now I'm sort of come full circle. I'm writing comics again for a magazine called The Creeps and another magazine called Vampiris Carmilla. And they're kind of like the old Warren magazines, like Creepy and Eerie and Vampirella. I've got a new series of novels coming out, and I just made a movie that came out 2 years ago called Tales of Frankenstein that I'm kind of proud of. I think what I'm most proud of, though, is music. I love playing music more than anything else. We don't usually talk about that because I got all this stuff out here.
Yeah.
But I think if I was going to be remembered for one thing, it would be the music.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you the interesting question here. You said full circle. The first time around, you knew what audience you had. Today, I'm assuming maybe some of that same audience that was there for the creepy show.
Well, those people are mostly died of old age, so they're not around anymore. But I think this, my first comic book sale was to an issue of Creepy. But I think the stories I'm doing now, even though they're in the same genre, are way, way, way better because you learn a lot as years go by and you get more experience. So I think the stories I'm writing now for those two magazines are probably the best horror stories I've ever done.
Yeah, well, that's where I was going, actually, is what today's artists, what they consider creepy or horror. Is it about the same, or is it any different?
Well, I don't know. I'm using a lot of the old classic themes, vampires, werewolves, mummies, that sort of thing. But I'm also doing some really offbeat stuff. This pandemic has given me all kinds of ideas for stories. I've written all kinds of stories based on this pandemic, but taking it like to the next level. After this whole COVID thing has been solved, there's different pandemics along the way, and so I'm having a lot of fun with that. And I'm stuck at home, but it gives me something to do when I'm stuck at home, and so. I'm probably having more fun now than I ever did writing comics. I wrote in all the genres: superheroes, jungle, horror, mystery. But I think I like this the best.
Yeah. I was to ask you, is there a favorite genre you like writing? But I've written probably they got about somewhere between 100 and 200 stories in inventory that I wrote because I get this urge to write a story, and it's instead of sitting there around watching television, I got to get it out of my system. So I write the story and I send it in. So they probably have close to 200 stories. Long after I have kicked the bucket, they can still be doing my stories for the next 10 or 20 years. Yeah, and I'm seeing here you wrote for What If also.
I did a lot of the early What Ifs. Using some of the classic characters, Spider-Man, Thor, Captain America, and that was fun, taking those original ideas and turning them around a little bit, twisting around a little bit.
Yeah.
And did the Hulk and the 1950s Avengers and Sergeant Fury, so Daredevil, a lot of those.
Yeah, because that one is coming back around again. Now it's going to be an animated series on their...
Which one?
The What If. It's going to be an animated series.
Oh,
now.
yeah.
But what I was going to ask you is when you were writing for What If, were you given a lot of freedom to just come up with whatever, or were you given the...
Roy Thomas was the editor, and we got a lot of freedom. We would hit him with some ideas. Hey, I think the idea of Thor being Jane Foster, I was at a party at Rick Holberg's house, and we were just kicking around a lot of ideas and having some booze, and that silly idea came up, and Roy said, "Go with it." It was a good idea for a story.
Yeah.
When Jim Shooter came in as editor, that's when things changed. That was the last story I ever did. Was the Doctor Doom story, and we didn't have any freedom at all, it seemed like, at that point. But when Roy was editing it, we had a tremendous amount of freedom, as long as we stayed true to the characters and didn't, distort them in some way.
Yeah, that's actually when my run on Marvel Comics began, when Jim came in. So I was at the tail end of yours. But, yeah, that story you just mentioned, actually, that's also not going to be in the films. One of the next stories is going to be that one. They're not calling it What If, but that's
Oh, what, if Dr. Doom became a hero?
No, when Jane Foster became Thor.
Oh, yeah, there's going to be a movie, I guess, yeah. I don't think we're going to get any money for that, but that would be nice. But because we get royalties if we create an original character and they make a movie out of it. And but the Thor thing, Thor already existed in the Marvel world, so we just changed it a little bit. But Jane Foster existed, Thor existed. It wasn't like a brand new character.
Right. Yeah. So a little bit of advice I know I have a lot of up and coming writers here. How would they start a writing career?
Well, if you want to become a professional writer, it's a lot different now because, in my day, you could just send a manuscript out to an editor and they would read it. But the important things to realize is, first of all, if you want to be a writer or an artist or a musician or an actor or whatever, you got to look at it not as a hobby. It's your day job. So in doing that, you should write something every day, keep improving your craft. Never give up. If you get rejected, you're going to get rejected at the beginning, I guarantee it, because you're just starting out. What do you know? Don't take that personally. Let it roll off your back, because you can be rejected for all kinds of reasons that have nothing to do with your work or your value as a person. You can get rejected just on the basis of what day of the week your manuscript comes in or your submission comes in. So never give up. Write every day, and remember, it's your day job. There's nothing better than having a job that you want to do, that you love to do, that you're having fun doing. Not the kind of job where you can't wait till Friday comes along and you can go home and watch television. You can't wait till it starts, not wait till it ends. And I guarantee you'll be a much happier person if you do that.
Yeah.
But don't give up. That's the important thing. And a lot of people give up too soon. There might be some great artists there, great writers there, great actors there, but they get all depressed and everything, and they don't continue. But you got to continue, and you're going to go through some hard periods where you're not going to be making a lot of money, and you got to get through those lean years, because the pendulum will, if you're good, the pendulum will swing back, and you'll be a success.
Yeah, great advice. Yeah, definitely. You gotta love what you're doing. You can't, when you don't call it a job, that's when you know you're at the right place. So, is it just at conventions, or where else can they find your stories, your books?
Well, I have a new series of novels. This is one of them, Bugged. It's a novel about thousands of insects eating people alive. You'll love it. And that just came out about a week ago. You can get it on Amazon. I had a novel come out a few weeks before that called Jawbreaker, which is kind of an old pulp magazine superhero type of character with a mask. And I've got one coming out in about a week, unless it's out already, called Spawn, which is about dinosaurs in an amusement park. It had nothing to do with Jurassic Park because I wrote it before Jurassic Park, but it's very much like Westworld, and which was written by the same person who wrote Jurassic Park. And I'm still doing comics, as I said, for The Creeps and Vampirus Carmilla, and my new that Frankenstein movie, Tales of Frankenstein, came out 2 years ago. It's available on Amazon, and I just keep doing a lot of stuff. I'd like to do more music again. That's my main passion, I guess.
Yeah. So, let them know where can they hear your music if they want to.
Well, got a whole series of Dinosaur Tracks CDs. You can get that online. And also, I Was a Teenage Movie Maker has a soundtrack that I wrote and performed with a friend. And there's 3 Dinosaur Tracks albums. I played in a band in the late 60s called the Penny Arcade that was produced by Michael Nesmith, who was one of the Monkees. If you remember, anybody remembers the Monkees. we had one album come out a few years ago. They're coming out with a second album at the end of this year. They found some lost songs, lost tracks we did, and that's from my serious rock and roll days. Nothing about dinosaurs or anything, but
Yeah.
when we were hoping to become rock stars. That's what I always wanted to be when I was a young kid. That was my main goal, to be a rock star. And when that didn't happen, when it almost happened with the Penny Arcade, I switched to writing all this stuff. And so anyway, that's the sum of my life, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you that. A lot of people are probably wondering. They hear you. You've mentioned it twice now. You're telling the stories about the music. How did you go from I love music to I was just right, but there it is. That's how.
Well, I've always been, one of the things I was born with. I always found certain creative things like music, art, and writing, and even acting a little bit easy. So I always followed those things. Those are the things I always wanted to do. And when the music thing didn't pan out the way I hoped it would, I went to the next best thing, which was writing. I found I could make a living writing.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you have websites or anything where they can?
Yeah,
find everything?
I have a couple. One is just my name, DonaldFGlut.com. Then I have for my company, Pecos. My production company is Pecos Born Productions. So if you just go to PecosBorn.com, you'll see the movies I've made. Now, Pecos Born is spelled. It's like Pecos, Texas, Pecos, and because I was born there in Pecos, Texas, that's why my company's called Pecos Born. Get it?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, kind of the same as mine, my production company. I have
Right.
where I was born, that same thing. So Don Glut, again, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Wish
It's been
continued
fun.
Success, and wish you the best.
Okay, thank you.